If you'd like to know what suit works for your body shape, stay tuned for today's video. Hello there, welcome to my channel. My name is Sarah and I am the style coach, here to help you refine your personal style and in doing so increase your confidence. You can also find me over on Instagram at thestylecoach.ie and you can find out more about my online courses down below. Today's video comes in as a request from a subscriber. Thank you very much for that. I love hearing about specific videos you'd like to see because that means I can bring you value and that's what I want to do. Useful information that you can apply in everyday life. So if you have any ideas about what you'd like for me to cover, please do let me know. Today's video is all about finding that perfect suit that works for your unique body shape. So let's get started with today's video. There are a couple of things that I'd like to point out before we get into talking about the nitty-gritty of finding that perfect suit for your body shape. The first thing is that you must of course be aware of what your body shape is. If you don't know that, I've got other videos on the subject, so you can go have a look at those, identify your body shape, and then come back. Now, when we talk about body shape, you may be familiar with the shapes already. We've got the hourglass, the triangle, the inverted triangle, the rectangle, and the round or oval shape, apple shape. The first thing to recognize about these body shapes is there's limitations to them. They look at the body as a 2D subject, and of course we're not little cartoons running around the streets and going to work and putting on our clothes. We are 3D, we have lumps and bumps and we are proud of them and we need to know how to dress them. So there's limitations to knowing just that you're a triangle and all that kind of business. You need to get an understanding of your vertical proportions as well and not just your lateral proportions. So that is really important. If you'd like to know more about your body shape, I've got courses on this, check them out down below. Also remember that we're something like 4 billion women on this earth, or female bodies anyway, and we're talking about 5 body shapes. How could we simply fit neatly into one of these 5 categories, all 4 billion of us? It doesn't work like that. This is a very simplified system. This is why I do individual consultations. But to keep it succinct and to the point, we are going to talk about those 5 body shapes today. The next thing I want you to have a think about is once you know your general body shape, whether you're an hourglass, pear shape, all of this, the next thing I want you to think about is what do you want to achieve when you're dressing? Traditionally, a stylist would dress a person to bring balance to their body shape. If they're top heavy, we bring balance to the lower half. If they're bottom heavy, we do the opposite and bring the attention upwards. So we play around with this in order for us to get closer to the balanced body shape of the hourglass. Now, I think this is a little bit old-fashioned, a little bit archaic, a little bit outdated. Not everybody wants to achieve this. And so it's worthwhile knowing what is it you want to achieve. Where do you want to highlight? Where do you want to play down? Again, to keep it simple, otherwise this video will go on forever, I'm going to target the 5 body shapes and talk about bringing balance to those body shapes when we buy a suit. If you'd like more specific information about your unique and beautiful body shape, do get in touch for your online consultation. The last thing I'll talk about before we get into this subject, but this is all really important stuff, is we can't just say a wide leg trouser suit or a skinny trouser suit. There's so much more to think about when we think about a suit. There's the weight of the fabric, there's the shape of the leg, there's the movement of the fabric, there's the length of the jacket, there's the tailoring of the jacket, there's the lapels to think about. There's so much to think about, and this is why it's worth knowing your unique body shape so that you can make these decisions. But let's get started with the first body shape. That is the triangle shape, also known as the pear shape. Let's first talk about fabric for the pear shape. We want something kind of mid-weight fabric, not something that's too flimsy because it's not going to give the support that the pear shape needs around the bottom, around the thighs. You're going to want something with a little bit more weight in it, not terribly stiff. We don't want stiff fabric, somewhere in the middle. That's the kind of fabric that we want to be looking for. In terms of the lower half of the suit, thinking about trousers, we want to lengthen the leg as much as possible here. So we want to go for a mid to high rise in the waist. And we want to go for a cigarette style trouser that's going to hug the curves of the body and slim down on the leg. A straight cut could also work, but you don't want to go any wider than this because that's going to make the pear shape feel very grounded, very bottom heavy. So we want to hug the curves of the hips and emphasize the length of the leg coming down to the ankle or down to the ground. We could also go for a slight little kick flare in that trouser leg as well. You may of course choose to go for a skirt suit, in which case you're going to want to go for a pencil skirt that comes down to about the knee or just above the knee. Will be really flattering as well. But the main thing to remember here for the pear shape is that the focus is going to be on the upper half. That's where we want to bring the detail. When I talk about detail, we're talking about definitely strong shoulders. We want to have those shoulder pads in that blazer, in that jacket, for sure. So we want to bring that balance to the hips by bringing that emphasis to the shoulders. Don't be afraid to go a little extra wide on the shoulders. It's going to work really great for you. You also have great freedom with your lapels. Feel free to go for a little bit of a wider lapel as well, a little bit of a wider collar, some interesting detail that might be on the pockets or something like that. That's all great for this shape. You also want to keep your jacket shape possibly about 4 inches above the widest part of the hips. Or indeed, you could go lower. I think a little bit higher is better. And use good tailoring in your jacket. Make sure that there's a fit there to suit the waistline, whether it's belted, whether you put a button on it and it gives a nice curve to the shape. That's what we want there. So that is what we're looking for the pear shape. By the way, if you're finding this useful and you're learning something new, can I please ask you to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Moving on to the round shape, also known as the oval shape, or indeed the apple shape as it's commonly known. So what we want to do here is bring a little bit of balance to the lower part of the body because the weight tends to be all on the upper half. So a wide leg in this case is great. We want to go for a mid to light weight in the leg of the trousers here so that we get a little bit of movement in that wide leg. You could also go for a pencil skirt, just cut above the knee, which is going to be very flattering as well. The very fact that a suit is one colour, top and bottom, it's matching, works for this body shape really well, and petites as well for that matter. So the one colour, the monochrome look of a suit lengthens the body. That's one of the key things that we look to do for the apple shape. So that in itself, you're already winning. For the upper half of the suit, in the jacket, you want to go for a fairly short fitting jacket. Something again that has tailoring and perhaps no lapels at all this time, which is unlike the previous body shape that we talked about. We want to keep it very clean and straight lines down the front of the body. You may even consider not closing this suit if you wish, or just have a single button that closes just under the bust, which will be great for the body shape as well. A little shoulder pad works great here for the oval shape. The person with the oval round apple shape, they tend to have sloping shoulders and they lose a little bit of definition, and suits may look tired on them and ill-fitting. So a little bit of structure in the shoulders can help a lot, whether it's in your blouse underneath or in the jacket itself. But bring a little bit of structure into the shoulders and it's going to look fantastic for this body shape. Just in terms of design here as well, a pinstripe suit is super for the round apple oval shape. So keep that in mind. Nice little thin stripe that's barely noticeable but makes all the difference. Those vertical lines, always good. Moving on to our hourglass shape. The shape that people think, oh gosh, it's not that easy to dress. You can wear anything you want. And that's kind of half true. The hourglass indeed has a balanced shape. It's the shape that a lot of other people are trying to achieve. However, you can very easily knock the hourglass out of balance. You can make them look bottom heavy very easily. You can make them look top heavy very easily. So you've got to be careful that if you choose to go for something with a wide leg on the bottom, that You do have something fitted on the waist on the upper half, but also you've got that structured shoulder as well in the jacket. Otherwise, it can look a little bit off balance. So you still want to have that lapels, quite a bit of detail going on, maybe a little bit of pocket detailing. So be careful not to go too heavy with the bottom half by using a very wide leg trouser and something really slim fitting on top. Generally speaking, suits are designed so that they have balance in them. So you do have freedom in terms of what trouser leg you choose, what skirt you choose. If it's a cigarette pair of trousers, then a slim fitting jacket up top is going to work perfect as well. You can, of course, choose to go for a jacket that's slightly shorter or a little bit longer, but definitely something that emphasizes that waistline is going to look great. You don't want to go for something too boxy, too stiff in the fabric. Keep the fabric mid to lightweight for the Hourglass. Moving on to the rectangle shape. And now if you followed my other videos, you'll know that I have these kind of key mantras for each of the body shapes. For this body shape, the mantra is softness and movement. How do we get movement? We use lightweight fabrics. You don't want to be going heavy with the fabric here at all. Keep it very light. A culotte style trouser is going to work beautifully because it has a little bit of a flow to the fabric. Likewise, a wide leg trouser down to the floor that has movement is going to be super as well. You could go for something that's a little bit more tapered. So comes in at the waist, has a little bit of volume around the hips in pockets or pleats maybe, and then tapered down the leg to give a little bit more shape there. In terms of the jackets, you could go for something that has a bit of a peplum to the jacket. Kind of unusual to find these things, so if you can, that's great. But if not, you want to have something that has built-in great tailoring into your jacket, emphasizing the waistline. So even though they don't have a particularly defined waist, the jacket makes it look like you do. So you could go for pocket detailing on the jacket, nice and defined in the waist in terms of the tailoring, and you could go for a medium lapel. You don't want to go for anything that's too large, too boxy looking. So keep it quite streamlined, and movement is the key here. Lightweight fabrics. You could also, of course, go for a jacket that's belted. If you found something like that, that would work quite well as well. For the rectangle, in terms of skirts, you could also go for something like a pleated A-line skirt. Could work great as well. Nothing that's too fitted like a pencil skirt. You want to give a little bit of movement, as I say. And finally, the inverted triangle shape. This person carries their weight, or the dominant feature is in their shoulders or across the bust. So we want to be bringing a little bit more focus to the lower half of the body, a little bit more movement there. So we're thinking about a wide leg, a straight leg, maybe something with a slight kick flare, a kind of a sailor leg to it. What I'd say avoid is something that's very slim fitting on the leg, because that will further emphasize the inverted triangle. If you're trying to bring balance to your figure, this is not going to do it. So those wider legs are going to be better. A mid-weight fabric is going to work well also. Staying with the lower half, you want to be considering A-line skirts as well. You could go for something with a little bit of a pleat, something that has movement in it for the lower half of the body as well. Now, in terms of jackets, this is where we want to keep it very simplified. We don't want any pockets on the bust area or shoulders that are overly strong if we haven't brought that balance to the lower half particularly. So you could go for something with no lapels whatsoever, or very slim lapels will work well. Your jacket could be a longer fitting jacket and have pocket details down where the hips are. That's going to give a little bit of weight to that area. But the main thing here for the inverted triangle is to simplify the upper half and bring a little bit of movement and a little bit of fun to the lower half. That's the key here. That's it for today's video. I do hope you enjoyed it and learned something new, and I do hope to see you again next week. Take care. Bye bye.